Mhm. Okay, still getting started, but we'll get to it soon. Honestly, it's a couple minutes early, so. Okay, make sure things are functioning. Set this one up. Just shove it over here. That was my cell phone, so. Now I will, okay. Make sure it's muted. Alright. Okay, so we are about to get started, so. Yeah, it's about the right time, so. Not sure how long I'll actually be streaming today, but because I just had a rough night. But okay, let's just get to the art screen. But yeah, so hello everyone, it's me, Varia the Viridian Ghost. Thank you for coming to my stream today. I hope you're all doing alright. As I said, I've been kind of not great this past yesterday and basically this morning, but I am starting to feel a little bit better, so yeah, I just figured I'd just get the stream handled, so you know, it's a nice distraction, but yeah, so okay. But this is the art piece that I've been working on, so you know, I've been sometimes I post whips with the filter on, but I'm not sure if I'll go with it entirely. I'll probably go with it just because of I guess looking at it on my main screen, which is more desaturated than my tablet screen, it probably does need the filter, but okay, sorry, should probably scooch this tablet over, but I'm going to start a little bit with the flowers, and then I'll move to the actual figures because I feel like they're the main show, but not sure how much I'll work on the flowers on stream though. So I did work on this a little bit last stream when I finished the Dami piece, because I started this around this. I might have started this a little bit after that one, but yeah. Honestly, kind of had to force myself to come up with something. I guess I don't entirely remember the process, but you know, on previous streams I did like mention that I wanted to do a sunflower piece for the August. I guess we're kind of running into September though, so this is probably more September than August at this point. But you know, whoops-a-daisy and all that. But you know, I did it was on my bucket list for summer themed art pieces. I'm not very good at making my seasonal art. Like, I do desire seasonal art, but yeah, I'm not the best about that. I guess that chrysalis piece was sort of a seasonal artwork. I don't know how many of you guys might have seen it, but you know, it's in my it's on Kara. If you want that, and you'll probably just see it if you're here when I take a break, you'll probably see it because it's on my slideshow. But yeah, so anyways, to explain what I'm doing at the moment, I am just blending out these petals real quick. You know, a little bit of a warm up. So, you know, I have been drawing a bit as a warm up before the stream started, of course, but you know, it's usually good to just kind of wake yourself up a bit. But yeah. So. Yeah, I did the other, I guess I thought I did most of the other ones, yeah, so you can see that it's kind of blended out on the petals at least, but I seem to have forgotten these two right here. But yeah, I don't know how many people want to just see me work on sunflowers for hours upon hours. But yeah, so. Okay. But I'll get on with it soon, so. I do need some ambient occlusion on these edges right here. But Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how detailed I should actually get with these sunflowers, just because they're not meant to be the main focus. So I worry if I add too much detail, then that might take away from the focal point. But I still have plans on like trying to make the focal point stick out a bit more, and I'll try to explain that once I actually get to that area section. Sorry, we'll get there when I get there. But yeah, so anyways, but yeah, so just work is kind of it's just killing me, to be honest. So I was just like really upset about it, so I kind of stayed up until like 5 because I just couldn't sleep. So I eventually just kind of like remembered that drugs exist. I'm not trying to like promote drug use or anything, but yeah, I just kind of took a shot of rum and that helped me out. So thank God this is a 18 and up. Thank God, sorry, I keep zooming in and out, but thank God this is a 18 and up stream, because yeah, we don't teach good lessons here, folks. We do not teach good lessons. But yeah, so I actually really didn't do all that much this morning, now I think about it. I went out and got the breakfast because the county fair is not going on anymore, so I can just drive there without any real issue. But then after that, I kind of just I listened to a little bit of music, I guess, and then just because I felt like it. Sometimes I just need to stop and kind of listen to music. Like I plug it into, like I have my phone, and then I plug in my earbuds, and then just kind of walk around, pace around my bedroom, and just while listening to the music. But yeah, it's something I like to do personally. I wouldn't say it's a hobby, but it is something that I do a lot. Usually I do that when it's like late at night though, so. Anyways. Yeah, I noticed that this section here, I kind of blended it together, so, the arm and the sort of pectoral shading. I'll probably need to like separate these a little bit later, but yeah. And the thing that I'm kind of worried about the most is just these wings, because I think I'm struggling a little bit with the colors and stuff. Honestly, with like honestly with Mr. Dove right here, I've been kind of struggling with his colors. Like I feel like I kind of come in a little too strong with certain shades, and that kind of ends up looking really weird. Like I make it a little too blue. Yeah, I can kind of see here that there's a lot of blue right here. I wanted to capture some like reflection from the sun, since shadows during sunset will actually appear very, very blue. So yeah, that's part of the reason why people like to photograph sunsets and all that. So it's admittedly, when I started the piece, I wasn't thinking of that. But yeah, I figured that I should like try and incorporate a bluish color. But yeah, I don't think I've been doing very good at this. Because, when I started this piece, my main intention was just to get a yellow art, like get my a mostly yellowy art piece. Because that is kind of out of my forte. Or I don't have a ton of yellow art pieces. Which is kind of funny because I like shading warm yellows. Honestly, I could probably do more yellow art in general. But yeah, so it does feel like my yellow art piece is turning into a blue art piece. And I'm not very good at like keeping my warm Like my warm colored art piece is like warm colored. Of course, in general, I'm not really great at keeping a one color dominant. No, I feel like I always need to have an accent color just because I think it adds to the artwork. Yeah, so anyways. And right now I'm just kind of blending out the seam between the shoulder and the rest of the body, because you know sleeves, where they're sewn on, or they're like sewn on, like they're separate cuts of fabric that are sewn on. So, you know, something that I learned from my days of sewing. Okay, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out what to work on next. I'll add a little bit of lighting to the arm right here. Arm and hand. Sorry, that's kind of sounded like Arm and Hammer. So yeah, I'm just kind of, just a bit, because I don't think it'd be this, I don't think there would be a ton of light coming past here. Honestly, I would say that my lighting in general isn't always the best. However, I do kind of like to just go a little bit crazy with it sometimes. I don't know if it's really this here would really count as crazy, but you know. Okay, and I'm just gonna take this some of the light color from the shoulder, and I will go on top of this hand a bit. So, but yeah, the focal point here should be the two faces. So eventually, I am going to like add on some like on a separate multiply layer. Usually, I'll have a general shading layer, and I'm probably gonna try to bring out the face, this face right here. So, also, it feels like this eye's just a wee bit off. I don't want to like screw with it too much, but okay. Okay. I don't think I really worked quite that much on the eyes yet. I know it's not always important to have the eyes perfectly centered, but I feel like this looks worse. I don't know. I don't think I've been the best about flipping this canvas. Okay. Yeah, should I bother messing with the eyes, or? But yeah, thank God I didn't really work too much on the eyes yet. The thing is, it's like his eyes are kind of in the shade, so I guess it looks a little bit better, but so I haven't really added too much detail to them. Sorry, I'm just kind of, thank God for the liquify tool, but seeing if it's really worth it. Yeah. Okay, how about I shrink this a bit more? Just kind of make this eye here a little bit rounder, because that's kind of, the eye that's usually further away will look a bit rounder just because it's in the kind of how the perspective and forms work. But yeah, so how about I kind of sharpen these back up then? So, but yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm just trying to clean this up again, since you know, as you might guess, the liquify tool, or anyone who's used to kind of using these sorts of tools, the liquify tool tends to blur things or makes things look blurry. So, you know, I just gotta take care of that. You know, it is the focal point, so but I do want things to be kind of a bit sharper than a lot of the other parts of the piece. And maybe a bit of unnecessary highlighting too. Actually, now that I think about it, some of the highlighting here should probably be a little bit bluer. I've done that with a piece now that I think about it, but I guess technically the skylight wouldn't really you know, produce too many highlights just because it tends to be very, very diffused. So, you know, I guess diffused light technically has highlights, but it's so like soft looking that it doesn't really stick out quite so much, or all that much, I should say. But yeah, I guess I can probably open up a older piece of mine from one of my works from Art Fight last year, because I remember doing that on a Demon Lady. So one of the few pin-ups I've done. So yeah, I'll just show you guys real quick and then I'll get back to work. I'm still generally proud of that piece, even though I didn't do very good on. I did a pretty poor job on the face, but sorry, I'm trying to look for it. Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through this because of we're struggling to see. I guess I'm struggling to find it at the moment, but okay, it should be A, wouldn't it? Okay, they all start with A, dang it, because I wrote AF. I found it, so. Yeah, I was kind of proud of the colors here, just because it's so, like, bright and cheery. Kind of just a fun beach scene, but yeah, you can kind of see that I've added some blue highlights, and that's kind of supposed to represent the skylight, because, you know, the main light source from the sun is coming behind her. But yeah. Honestly, I'm still, like, really proud of this piece for the most part, outside of the face. I could have done a lot better job on this character's face, but, you know, this is before I kind of I specifically studied noses, because, yeah, you can kind of see my nose issues. Also, the hand, I know the hand looks really weird, some of you might notice it, but this is just, like, that was actually how it looked in the reference image, because this is one of the few times I've used a actual reference image. Yeah, in Blue Sky, there was this, like, one of those, like, repost trains, or quote post trains going around, that kind of, where people were talking about their, artist red flags, and mine was, not using enough references, because I'm just too lazy to look for them. But, you know, I did look for a reference, so. If there's one thing that's relatively easy to find online, it's pinups. So I did a pinup piece. Yeah, now that I say pinup, I kind of remember that I wanted to do a flamingo themed piece that was kind of a pinup. I don't know. I'm not really attached to the concept of a pinup, but I do want to use flamingos as sort of a design factor in there. So I just felt like a summary pinup piece would be kind of fitting for the flamingos. Oops, sorry. A little bit of coffee dripped out of my mug. I also need to be a bit better about drinking that, so. Okay, one thing I'm worried about this piece is trying to deal with this section of hair. Because I'm not really sure what to do. Like, I feel like I should have it be lighter because it's around the face, but at the same time, it's like one of the most shadowed areas in this art piece. So. It's actually like this side of the head that would have, I guess, not necessarily more light. It's kind of, it should actually be rim lighting, like right down here. Oh yeah, and of course the braid. I'm very proud of how my braid is coming out so far. Not so much the back end right here, but yeah, I'm like, was very excited about this. Sorry, I keep like flexing the stuff that I already did. I need to like get back to work. Okay, yeah, let's get back to this face. So, you know, I guess speaking of unnecessarily highlights, I may as well just give him the blue skylight. Okay, sorry, I'm like not showing up. Okay, it's because I have the wet bleed blender. Yeah, the wet bleed blender, by the way, is one of the default brushes on Clip Studio. So, but yeah, I'm making his highlights blue, as I said before, because of it would probably be the skylight. Again, a skylight should not, again, this is not a good rendering practice, I think, but I'm doing it anyway, because I need the space to stick out a little bit more. You know, it's too shadowed. Honestly, there should probably be some more yellowy bounce light around too, because of they're in a field of sunflowers. Well, that's probably something that I should worry about in the later stages, because I'll usually have a overlay layer for secondary light sources and you know, bounce light. Okay, so I'm gonna lighten this collar here just a smidge. Not a lot, but okay. I'm not doing very good at that one, but yeah, so right here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm kind of wondering if I should just go ahead and put in a multiplet or like the general shading layer real quick. So I have an idea what I want to do, but I don't think it'll be the official shading layer until I have I won't necessarily consider it official until it's more of this piece is done. So yeah, right now I'm just trying to mark out the area that I want to be darker. So yeah, right here. And it's going to be like a little bit hard, but not super hard. Okay. So I guess talking a little bit about life, I'm wondering if I should apply to a certain job that I saw, job posting that I saw. I don't know, I'm always kind of worried about applying to new jobs just because I know it's going to be a big change. It's especially to the schedule. That's the big thing I'm worried about. Is just having my stream schedule kind of, or feeling like I might lose my current streaming schedule. That, and it probably pays not quite as good, but I feel like that's the case for a lot of the jobs available to me. Yeah, I really need to get VGen done. I worked on it a little bit more last night, so I was supposed to get it done by like the beginning of the month, not the end of the month, but yeah, I've just been unsure of how to handle unsure of how to use the website or the tools of the website, so like how to handle things like add-ons and options, because I just wasn't sure. I do think I figured it out last night, but yeah. Okay. So, if anyone's interested in commissions, I'll be for the time being, I plan on having 2 different services, one for like painted illustrations and another for sort of the quote-unquote clean illustrations, so like the kind of those lined full bodies that you might have seen from me, you know, kind of more like the Doulahan piece from a couple of weeks, you know, from last week. But yeah, so I might post my painted illustrations live before then, but honestly, I should probably just wait until I can post both of them live, or have both of them live, so I can just advertise them at the same time. You know, try to actually do this as a job, because I kind of always meant to work. I always kind of meant to become an artist professionally, but I'm just not good at the professional stuff, which is why I've been kind of hesitant. Okay. Yeah, being a little bit gloomy, so sorry about that. Just kind of, it's been a little bit rough. Also, I noticed another issue. I feel like his face is maybe not quite as high up, maybe. Or I can move his face a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I just felt like his face wasn't quite big enough. Maybe his back of his hair, too, is actually may actually be a little bit too large. And it kind of showed some of the issues with the background. Whoops. Yeah, I just felt like his face was too small, so I'm just gonna try to make it a little bit bigger. I don't want to screw with the image too much because of the already kind of deep in here. But yeah, so I'm not used to drawing this face in the faces in this angle, by the way, so you can probably guess by some of the issues. Okay, so, and let's I'm just gonna do some a little bit of general shading on this part of the face. So, and I'm gonna blend it out too, so it looks cleaner. Okay. Okay, so hold on. I feel like the chin here is okay. Hope I don't screw everything up with all these little edits. Okay, just making his chin actually go back. Yeah, it looks before. Okay, maybe just a smidge longer. And push this part in. Like his face is supposed to be like leaning in, so, or like at a pretty intense, a bit of a more intense angle. So I don't want to like make it too long, but yeah, I just feel like maybe I guess felt like these faces were a little bit too small, maybe. I kind of moved into the actual drawing portion of the. Oops, I think I should. Yeah, I moved into the actual drawing portion of this piece pretty quickly, so, or the painting and coloring. Usually I leave the sketches sitting around for a day just so I can be a little more sure of what I want, but yeah, I guess I got a little bit excited for this one. Anyways, I am just gonna kind of put a general shadow down here over this this greater area. So yeah, I really shouldn't get too far with this, but you know, it's good to kind of have an idea of your shapes and whatnot. Hopefully you kind of bring out the bring out the shapes a bit more. Felt like I might have went a little bit crazy with blending in some areas, but admittedly the crazy blending is probably more in like the leaves so far. Okay, so I'm just gonna start blending this stuff out, and then I'll lower the opacity, and it'll probably be good for a little bit. Kind of wondering if I should change the color or not. I guess just the current color isn't necessarily horrible, but it's not my favorite. I feel like I could chose something a bit brighter to make it a little more lively. But maybe have this be the safe option or something. I'll probably need like to change it later anyway, because I'm probably going to be losing the current color. Yeah, probably doesn't hurt to just leave this current color as a bit of a stand-in. It's just a bit dull as it is. So, yeah, anyways. Especially want to soften it around the face here, so. Yeah, I don't necessarily mind being a lot softer with the shading and stuff. Okay. Or the face shading. Just because the face is already kind of shaded. Alright, so now we lower the opacity. Actually, hold on. Yeah, it's not sure how I feel about this at the moment. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit better. I actually feel a little bit better when I lower the opacity, but still. You know, I think part of the issue is just because I haven't put it over the rest of his face, but okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. Okay. Probably just because it's a bit early. And I realize I usually use a different brush to, or apply the general shading with a different type of brush. Okay. Yeah, also, as some of you might see, I need to work on these background sunflowers too. Kind of yucky looking. Like the ones with without the line art, I mean to say. Also, fair warning that there's another ad break coming in, so in like about 2.5 minutes. So right now I'm renaming my layer though, so there. Okay, just kind of stopping and observing the piece. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about this general shading. Kind of just wanted it to help bring out the faces a bit more. I'll turn it back off. I'm just going to check the browser. Actually, I'm going to check a couple of things real quick. Okay. Yeah, I'll just check my browser. And I'm just gonna... Sorry. Okay, so... Anyways, yeah, there's just a lot of alerts that came up, but... Yeah, I really should have just checked that on my streaming break, to be honest. Okay. So there is one thing that I've been meaning to add, but just haven't really gotten around to it, because I sort of keep forgetting, but I would like to have some more gold on the dove guy, so. Because I feel like that kind of would make him look a little nicer. Yeah, part of me feels like I could have thought this piece out a little bit better, but, you know. Or like thought out the actual like figures here. You know, the characters, I mean. Like obviously they're supposed to be like a loving embrace, because you know, I kind of thought it'd be nice to have that because of the... I know sunflower, because I was looking up like what the flower meaning for sunflowers are, and they do mean like loyalty, so things like loyalty and all that, so you know, I thought it'd be kind of cute for maybe a couple or something. I don't do a lot of couple art, or basically art with multiple characters either, so right now I'm just kind of marking out some details, and I do want most of the more detail around this collar, so try not to go too crazy with the gold here, because it's not really the focus of the piece, but a little more yellow, a little more decoration. Okay, so, and I'll add a little bit of detail towards the and I'll just add a touch on the bottom of the shirt. Yeah, so kind of wanted to include some gold and white, cool colors, because there's a species in this one game called Xenoblade Chronicles. It's kind of a popular game, to be honest, or it's like I think it's like relatively popular. But there's this kind of race called the High Entia, and there's like these people with bird wings on their heads. I thought the bird wings on the heads were like really weird at first, but they did kind of grow on me. However, there was one thing that I really liked about their society uses a lot of or there's like seems like there's this aesthetic of sort of these like bright, clean colors, kind of a lot of like gold and cool colors, and I really liked how that kind of looked, or that kind of look. So I never really like utilized it all that much in artwork, so maybe I thought maybe I can like try doing a little bit of that with this piece, even though it's kind of obvious this isn't like related to Xenoblade at all. Yeah, definitely not related to Xenoblade by any stretch, but gold, white, blue, pink, purple, those kinds of colors. Yeah, I think I tried talking about them before, but I couldn't remember the name. So, yeah, I just kind of remember the name out of the blue, actually. Yeah, I remember the Ent part, but I know it wasn't Ent because that would be the tree people from Lord of the Rings, so... Yeah, oops. Okay, so I'm just adding some basic details to the gold. I'm gonna have the sun to be blue, and because the gold is technically a metal, it should capture the blue color a lot better than the other sections. But yeah, obviously this is like a very rough rendering job at the moment, so I will add more I will like clean it up later on, I think, maybe, if I remember. Also just rendering this gem slightly. Yeah, I'm never entirely sure how closely people will look at my artworks, so sometimes I wonder if it's just better to leave certain details a bit more simplified. I know it might actually like benefit some art pieces if it's like cleaner looking, so okay. Anyways, just kind of putting everything down. So okay, so I'm also going to start adding a little bit more detailed rendering to the body here. So right now I'm just putting down these some level of shadows. That just aren't quite as dark as other shadows, but still enough that you can tell it's like this. Okay. So, yeah, like this and this. And what I'll do is start blending it. This isn't what I wanted to blend with. I was blending with the wrong pen. I was blending with smooth watercolor, which is also a pen that I usually use for blending, but it's like a lot softer than I would have wanted. So, yeah, I can't really make hard edges with that one just because of how much it blends out. But yeah, so just to be clear, I'm trying to work with very subtle shadows. Shadows and lighting, I mean. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, try to... You know, I used to be, like, blend, like, really, really hard. Like, all the... like, every shadow would be soft, but... Yeah, usually it helps, your art to not be, like, crazy soft. You know, have some, like, level of definition and hard edges. Honestly, it's, like, recommended for the most part to have, like, a mix of both. So, yeah. So I try to have, like, very, very soft shading. Honestly, I tend to have very, very soft shading with the skin. And then when I work with other areas like clothing, that's usually a good time to apply some of the harder shadows. Okay, sorry. Right now I'm just trying to observe things. Then I'm going to start adding a little bit of blue around here, so I'm going to be a lot more subtle with it than the gold, because it's fabric and it's just not as shiny. So I already added a little bit to the chest here, so I think you can kind of see it, but yeah, I blended out pretty hard. Often I don't go quite this detailed, or I haven't really gotten this detailed in a long time, but sometimes you just get in the flow. Okay. But yeah, I'm putting a little bit of blue on top of the arm. Maybe a little bit more on this corner right here. And maybe a little bit like this. I'll need to add more shading to the gold embellishments. Okay. I think there's going to be a little bit on the top of the thigh right here, so. But yeah, this area is a bit... The leg here is definitely a lot more covered up, so. I keep forgetting to work on this, because it looks a lot flatter than the rest of the image. Or the rest of the figures, I think. Yeah, it probably doesn't help that the other guy's hair is, like, kind of covering that leg up. So, I should, like, try and do that first. So that way I can, worry less about doing the end of the hair. Because that's the one... I think that's one of the few parts I just haven't really gotten to with the other guy. Yeah, part of me feels like the other guy has just been a little too simple, but yeah, I guess that's kind of just what happens when the character's face is not... The character isn't facing the same way as the rest of the image. Okay. But yeah. Okay. Also, I kind of forgot the break went down. Sorry about that. But you know what? I didn't really have to do anything because it's just a little too early for me to pull out or to go back to the coffee machine and whatnot. I did kind of want to check up on some stuff though, so yeah, I don't know if you guys mind that. Yeah, I don't know if people mind if like someone like, or like how much people mind when a streamer kind of looks at something else, especially in art streams specifically. Yeah, and gaming streams, I imagine that people mind it a bit more when artists take a little break, but yeah, you don't, honestly, a lot of times I don't even notice on other people when other people do it. I guess the art process is generally just I think most people understand that the drawing process is like very, very slow, so kind of comes with the territory just a bit. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so zooming in and out, that's per usual. And it seems like this should be a lot of light coming down here, so. However, I don't want to or I'm just going to leave the color as grayer so it sticks out less. Considering that there's a couple of sunflower, or like a big old sunflower right next to it, it's probably not too big of a deal, but definitely far away from the focal point, but yeah. Yeah, art is definitely or at least with art, that's kind of like a little bit semi-realist. I know my art's probably more anime than semi-realist, but I do more of a painterly, or I try to use more painterly techniques, so it does feel a little more semi-realistic. But okay, what I was trying to say, that art is definitely when it comes to this kind of art, it's definitely there's a lot of decisions on whether you want it to come off as like realistic, or how realistic you want your shading to be, I should say. Because there's definitely a lot of rules with rendering, but at the same time, not everyone wants it to be like 100% realistic. So yeah. Okay. So I'm actually gonna warm up these shadows quite a bit here. So since it's between like this kind of bluish, making it purple because it's kind of in between the bluish clothes and the gold in the gold sections. Of course, I also just honestly I just use purple for shading most of the time anyway. So yeah, just gonna check something. Okay, sorry about that. Usually it's a good idea to check the phone notifications just in case like I'm getting texted by a family member or something. But yeah. But yeah, as you can see, those that bit of ambient occlusion kind of makes the gold stand out just a wee bit more. So, because technically this would be kind of sewn over, or I would assume it's like gold thread, so it's kind of sewn over the rest of the clothes. That, or just kind of attached in some way. I guess clothing like this, well, no, it would be kind of sewed on, wouldn't it? Sorry, I'm like trying to think. Yeah, probably would be sewn on just with like armbands like this. Yeah, the armbands would probably be made with thread rather than being an ornament that's kind of just attached, because I feel like that'd be a little inconvenient to put on. I don't know, man. I just like the gold trimming. I think gold trimming looks nice. Okay. Okay, I just finished my coffee and I'm just gonna stretch for a little bit. Just a wee bit. Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's been a long time since I shaded hair kind of like this, so sometimes I kind of forget the process of how to render, to be honest. So what I mean to say is kind of like how sometimes like some planes it might just kind of get a little bit darker as a gradient rather than just staying the exact same color. I don't know how to explain it to you guys, so. But like, you kind of see how there's like a light source hitting the hair here. Also, you know, skylight and all that. But yeah, and so where it kind of humps here, and then down here it kind of goes down. So this plane would be like slightly darker. But more in a subtle way rather than just like a hard change usually. Yeah, it kind of makes the art look more 3D when you do that. But yeah, I haven't really been putting that technique into practice very often. Honestly, that technique was one of the reasons why one of my art fight pieces took so long to just get done. So like back in 2024. Yeah, it's actually, oh my god, voice crack. It was actually another winged character too, so you know, shading wings definitely takes a lot of work. But yeah, I kind of tried applying that technique to another art piece of mine that I did in the last September. Like, yeah, previous September. And that one took like 3 weeks, which I really didn't need to do because it wasn't the best, to be honest, at least with shading. At least I could have done a better job, I think. But yeah, and then also no one cared about that piece, so okay, so I'm just kind of blending out the background here. I'm actually going to make it softer because softer edges don't stick out as much as hard edges. At least that's usually that's how it is usually. So yeah, it's kind of why some people will like try to blur out the background to help focus on something. So I'm gonna try and apply that technique to this piece. So yeah, soften these edges too, because you know no one really cares that much about one of the legs. So and honestly, it should probably look a bit rounder too because of it's a thigh, so kind of a cylinder shape, more of a cylinder shape than a square or anything. Sorry, I'm just kind of, yeah. So this is behind the kind of a more complex shape, or yeah, since this area is behind a more complicated shape, I need to kind of be a bit more thoughtful about, or like I need to at least get most of it done before I actually put in the work for the end of the hair here. And I do want to add some more stray hairs to the over this because I'm not really thrilled with the actual shape. Okay. Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just being a little bit quiet, but I'm trying to kind of focus on the shadows a wee bit. Shadows. Yeah, I always keep saying shadows. I don't mean to say shadows. I'm kind of not accurate, dang it. Okay. Okay. But also, I guess a little bit of an update or like, update to some of my plans. I was kind of hoping to get back into Blender, like, or I plan on getting back into Blender sometime soon, like hopefully around next week. But yeah, so I think for the first week of me trying to get back into Blender, I might, or at least focus it, trying to work on improving some of my other stuff. I might do a couple of study streams. So I'm not sure how interested you guys would be in that, but yeah, like a couple of more bird studies maybe. And I might actually try to sketch the entire thing, so maybe get a bit more used to this. Yeah, it might not hurt to get used to that kind of thing, so. I usually hate sketching on stream just because my sketches are so ugly. And they take a long time too, so. Yeah, a lot of the behind the scenes work is just me struggling. Yeah, I don't even remember how long the sketching took for this piece right here, but yeah, I might just go ahead and do the sketching on stream so you guys can see that process. I feel like I wouldn't hurt to like learn how to explain the sketching process like verbally, so you guys can kind of see what I do. And since it's an image that I'm more like dependent, I'll be more dependent on or since I can depend on the reference image, that should make things a little bit easier for me. So okay. So right now I'm just setting a pour shadow to the bottom of the arm here. Okay. You know, I do really enjoy the current process or my current method for painted pieces. I'm gonna be honest, my like technique for painted pieces like changes pretty often. So if any of you have been here for a while, but I think the current one that I've been doing with where I make a sketch and then just kind of do everything on the same layer, I actually kind of enjoy how this works. I do have to be a bit more careful with where I place the things like lines and whatnot, but it just kind of puts me into gear, I guess. It's actually a bit easier to be clean like this though, because you know, I usually have a solid base for the image or the figures, so sorry, I'm not trying to show you. like how you don't normally see anything from like behind the characters here. So, you know, usually when I put things down with the brush that I like to use, the concept art brush, which is one of the few brushes I use that isn't like native to Clip Studio. It's a little bit transparent, so sorry, I was like wondering if I could. Yeah, you can kind of see what I mean with the sunflower here. It's a little bit transparent, so, and I always kind of had to be careful about that with my like art pieces and edges, because you know there could be like a bunch of like crap that you can kind of see behind it. So, and if I wanted to have like a multiply layer or overlay layer, then yeah, I have to keep that as a separate layer rather than blending it out, because you can basically see the issue, right? Because it would look kind of funky once I actually blended it out. Sorry, I'm not very good at explaining anything. But yeah, so. Okay, so sorry. Right now I'm just kind of like looking at the wings. I haven't really been putting that much effort into the wings so far, just because it's been a little bit nerve-wracking. Especially since I've been like kind of struggling with the colors. You know, as I said before, I really could have thought out my color scheme a lot better, so. Especially with like temperatures. I didn't account for the blue shadows, so I think that's the big issue, is the mix of the yellow and the blue, and it kind of makes some of the areas a bit muddier. I guess not necessarily yellow and blue, but you know, a lot of the reddish colors. So it's supposed to be a warm yellow, so I feel like greenish, or a lot more greenish tones might make things a little bit odd. You know, outside of the leaves, of course. Also, fun fact, the leaves are actually I put the leaves down as a cyan rather than an actual like green color, so it's just like very desaturated. Actually, if I color pick from them, let's see. Yeah, it actually comes out as gray when I color pick it. So, fun fact, it's not actually green. It's actually color theory. Okay, but yeah, so right now I'm bringing down these shadows, because these it technically should be darker here. Of course, these wings will have the some pretty hardcore subsurface scattering. So, you know, for those who don't know, subsurface scattering is when or like when an object or something, or like body part is somewhat transparent, the light would pass through it, or like some light would pass through it, and that would make the image seem lighter. So I guess there's technically two different methods to the subsurface scattering. So what I often use is kind of like or the version that I use often, like for a light hitting the skin, the core shadow, or where the light and the shadow would meet, that's usually a little bit reddish, at least for like light skin. It actually occurs with dark skin too, of course, but it's not as noticeable on dark skin. But yeah, there will be a little bit of a reddish color that kind of at that core shadow, and that would be subsurface scattering. However, the subsurface scattering that I'll be using with the wings is like the kind of a more intense version of it, and it's usually the version that they talk about in instructional books. So yeah, it wasn't until I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos when I really understood. Sorry, I have a reference that I can like show you what I mean, but usually in instructional books they'll kind of show this form. So no, people don't really talk about the differences between this, but yeah, you can see all this like bright light coming through the pigeon right here, or dove, I should say. And yeah, that's a subsurface scattering. So, or like the subsurface scattering that I'm going to use for the actual wings here. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't really understand the other type, the first type that I talked about until like relatively recently, to be honest. And that was more from watching YouTube videos of other people kind of talking about it. So yeah, beforehand I just didn't do it. But yeah, I think subsurface scattering definitely brings out or makes its skin look more lively. But yeah, it's usually more noticeable on lighter colors. At least for skin. I know part of the reason is just like less melanin, so the skin seems a little more transparent, and that's why it and that's kind of the same way with like lighter hair as well, but it still appears on darker skin tones, of course. So I know with darker skin, it's actually more that the skin tones will be more reflective than actual, or like a bounce light and stuff will actually appear a lot, or be a lot more noticeable. Yeah, it's not only the transparency, but also kind of like just a comparison of colors. So, or like the reflectiveness of the darker skin, that's usually because of light will be more noticeable, will just be more noticeable there, or lighter areas. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to kind of softening this edge a bit, because it does look a bit weird. But yeah, one part that's kind of frustrating me is just kind of it's just that it feels a little bit muddy when I kind of go down from the blue to the red. Kind of regret adding all this reddish color, to be honest. But yeah, I struggle with wings just a wee bit, so I'm wondering if I should just like lighten the feathers over here a bit more or not, or something. Okay, how about I blend the darker edges here, and I can like consider kind of bringing it back out later on. Yeah, but yeah, I can kind of see. So, for what I mean with like some of the complaints, you can kind of see that I actually put down a bluish gray over this reddish section, just so it kind of blends in a bit more. But yeah, it still isn't really perfect or anything. But yeah, hopefully it looks better when I make the feathers look a bit smoother. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how complicated wings can be, but I'm trying to focus on sections or feather sections rather than individual feathers, because I'm not a masochist by any stretch. So yeah. Okay. Trying to blend in more of the light color from the ends upwards. Yeah, I feel like these back wings should actually be a bit lighter, because this would also be hit with the subsurface scattering. Okay. I'm going to check the browser real quick, so just take a moment. Oh man, I get so many Discord notifications. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to... Kind of wondering if I should have a window open for Dami's stream, but I'm not entirely... I always get a little bit worried about some of the noise passing through because I don't really have a complicated audio setup. Okay, so... Yeah, I feel like I should, I'm just gonna put up a reminder that I'm, like, here right now, so... Okay, sorry, what I'm trying to do is, use Gaiazo. I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation, but... It's just this, like, little app for your computer that kind of lets you take relatively quick screenshots. And I use it a lot, so... It's been around for a long time, but you never really hear people like use it, or like at least not for a while. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. Okay, I'll get back to work. So, you know, I do kind of like how these edges are a bit lighter, so still kind of makes the big feathers stick out. Yeah, usually for my personal technique, I would probably prefer to have these the larger feathers kind of stand out as individuals. Like the like the proper flight feathers, maybe. I don't remember what all the feathers are named, to be honest. But yeah, so... Anyways, I'm just kind of blending it all out. And I feel like I should clean up these edges just a wee bit. Okay. So right now I'm just going to take the color at the end, and I'm actually going to... I just want to lighten these more. I mean, like the lower feathers. I do plan on going in with actual, either a overlay layer or a add glow layer, but yeah, so I guess I kind of feel like this might be just the wings back here are just too purple. I don't know. I might be full of crap. I don't. Okay. Maybe I should work with white more too, so at least like white in sunsets, because this is kind of it's more of a struggle than I thought it would be. So let me make this. Okay. Yeah, part of me feels like I added too much color here, but it's not really meshing with the rest of the image. If it were like a if this were a winter scene, this might actually look a bit better, but yeah, I don't know about that. Okay, so sorry, music stopped. Yeah, I forgot to set this on loop, so okay, that's better. But yeah, I just needed to restart the list. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna yoink this purple color from the sketch. Yeah, I can still see some of the sketch lines, but and I'll kind of build up some more of the down feathers. So these very rounded feathers. I'm not sure if it's actually down or these ones are specifically down, but yeah, wings will usually have a little bit of down feathers near the base of them, like this area usually. So, you know, not very important to flight, but it keeps the bird warm. Kind of like the very basic feathers. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna try to add a few more down feathers, or yeah, downy shapes to it, to the wings. Okay. Okay. Yeah, try to mix this here. Okay. Yeah, how many feathers do I want to... Sorry. I don't know why I said feathers. I'm just kind of thinking about how long I want to go, so... You know, earlier I wasn't sure if I could do it, but part of me does kind of want to go for a normal time, but yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it's just kind of quiet today, so... Okay, I feel like this purple color actually helped a lot right here. I don't know, it looks kind of nice. You know, not perfect, but it's a good start. Okay. Also, I'm gonna like kind of put a line against the forest shadow right here, or at the edge of the shadow and light. I feel like it kind of makes it pop a bit. Kind of a coarse shadow, but not necessarily meant to be a intense one. So I'm gonna do something kind of similar over here in a way. I might mix some of this brownish color with the purple too, just kind of, yeah. Okay. Anyways, yeah, basically extending the shadow right here. And just kind of pushing more down. I also come in with more of the light color right here. Yeah, like the ends of this wing should be getting hit pretty hard with the sunlight, so. Okay. I'm just gonna like brighten this up a bit further. Okay. And blend out the white part. Okay. And then blend out this lighter shaded part. And I'll probably have to come in with a like reestablish the line art of the wing. Technically it's not quite line art, it's just kind of a sketch, as you probably know, but yeah, I think I kind of help it stand back out. Okay, and I'm gonna lighten up the edges here and probably blend it out so it doesn't like stand out too much, but you know, this, as I said before, this is getting hit pretty hard by the sun. So just kind of a light section, and I think I already kind of blended it out enough right there, so I'll do it with this like feather. So it's supposed to be like a big feather back here. I don't want to complicate it too much because obviously I'm not very good at wings. Okay. Okay. And I'm just kind of observing, thinking about what to do. You know what? I'm gonna like darken the coarse shadow right here, so. Yeah, I'm not really sure why I made this so blue down here, but probably is meant to like represent bounce light. But yeah, so. By the way, I'm gonna be taking a break when the next ad break comes, so. Just a fair warning. I'm gonna also make the just gonna lighten the edges here, so I usually like to put a dark color around the edge and, Usually I put lighter colors around ambient occlusion, usually around the hems and stuff like this. Yeah, ambient occlusion from like seams. Actually, it's called a seam, not a hem, sorry. A hem is the end of the shirt, but or clothing, I should say. Sometimes I do it with as you can see here, like next to a core shadow as well, just to kind of bring it out. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna lighten more of the sleeve down here just because I feel like it should probably be a bit lighter. Okay, now it's a few. Yeah, I think I'm feeling a little too detailed now, so I'm gonna connect these two light areas. Okay, you know it's fine. Okay, sorry, I'm just thinking I should probably darken this area, so I'm actually moving my tablet at an angle, so to make it a little easier for me to make that kind of line. And just kind of throwing in some dark, I guess some black lines just to accentuate the edge right here. Okay, maybe just one black line down there. And I'm just kind of adding a little bit of this lighter blue in some areas, just maybe I should saturate it a bit. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just like lightening certain sections of it. So I don't want to do it too much, but yeah, a little bit wouldn't kill anyone. Oops. And of course, like the little section down here should be highlighted. This would technically be highlights for the hems. Sorry, I'm like getting a little bit of a headache. Yeah, I think I only had like 4.5 hours of sleep, so it's probably catching up with me. I'm definitely gonna need to grab more coffee during the break, so. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm okay to work on this, but yeah, the fold here is just bothering me. It's just a wee bit, so lighten this up. Okay. All right. Kind of wondering if I should have had a gold edge on the front of the shirt. Alright, I don't really feel like adding that though. Okay. Yeah, he just gets a little bit of gold, not a lot of gold. Okay, so. Yeah, sorry, I'm just kind of trying to think of what to do next. I think I'm going to grab this grayish color from like the sky highlights. Yeah, it looks kind of gray, but might actually make it more blue. But yeah, so I'm just gonna apply that to the darker areas. So, yeah, okay. 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 Sorry, I'm being a little bit quiet. I'm just kind of trying to focus on the cleanup. Not really clean up, but where to put all these highlights. Yeah, I just remembered that I wanted to actually have more loose hairs. So, okay, where do I put those? That's the real question. Hold on. Yeah, something like this might be nice. So. A little bit risky. Sorry, I deleted the entire layer. Thank God for the back button. Okay. And, sorry, I'm just trying to... Maybe wait. Okay, so I got an alert for the ad break coming, so I'll probably be here for a little less of a minute, and then I'll take my own break so I can fulfill some basic needs, you know. You know what I mean. Okay. So yeah, so I'm just gonna... yeah, I just wanna try to make this shape a little bit crazier, so... Not perfect by any stretch, but, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go on my break, guys, so I'll BRB. And all that jazz, so. Alright, see you soon. Okay. Okay, sorry, okay. I'm just gonna turn this back on. I'm gonna peek at things a bit more. Okay, really should have probably should have waited a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm just gonna check this. Okay, back to the stream browser. So, okay, and let's just get back to the art stream. So, I don't know how many of you are stuck behind the ad wall, but yeah, I'll just how about I do this first and then actually I'll take this really dark color. Okay. So 22 seconds for on my end. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the ad break should have officially ended, so sorry about that. I feel like I probably should have waited another minute or two for that to leave, so yeah, I feel like I could have done that. Sorry, I just needed to use the restroom or bathroom, I guess. I'm in my house at the bathroom, not a restroom, but yeah, I needed a restroom break, so that's why I kind of flew away essentially. Whoosh, swoosh. Sorry. Okay, yeah, just making sure my mic is back on. I had another oopsie with the microphone. I think this like last stream, so I was probably like muted for 15 minutes or something. Not as bad as being muted for an entire hour, of course, but that happened during one of my gaming streams. But yeah, it's just kind of stinks when you're muted for hours, 1 hour, when you're like muted for ages. Okay. But yeah, so welcome back. If I haven't said that already, right now I'm just continuing this hair, so, and you guys can probably see what I mean if you're like here earlier. I was talking about how my current method for painting was a bit cleaner because there's like a base bit below all the colors, and you can kind of see what I mean, like with the older. I'm gonna drag my microphone closer, but yeah, you can kind of see this is how it usually looks when I just apply my painting brush, which technically I don't necessarily need to do with the other method, but yeah, this is the brush that I'm just like most comfortable starting things with, so. But yeah, you can kind of see how it's like a little bit transparent under there, and that's why I feel like my current style method is cleaner. So basically, for those who might have just come in and are listening, what I've been doing is having like a sketch layer, and then I put like a base layer underneath the sketch, like I draw it in, and then I set up a clipping mask and I put all the like black colors in, and then I try to do some like basic shading and lighting with the multiply and overlay, so like not too crazy because I usually add things afterwards, but yeah, and then I merge everything together essentially, and that gives me a strong base to start on. And generally I move kind of a bit faster, but I feel like with this art piece I haven't really been moving very quickly. But of course it's a little bit more on the complicated side, so it's not like it's crazy that I'm going slower. I have like two different figures, and one of the two different like people people in it, and one of them has bird wings, and there's like a billion sunflowers. So yeah, this one's gonna be a bit slower. But yeah, so while I was on break, I was in like making my new coffee. I was kind of like thinking about like the commissions, because I'm going to try and get them to get my services to come in like pretty soon, hopefully. You know, I just gotta like figure out the terms of service a little bit better. That's probably what I need to focus on. Yeah, basically basically the reason why I haven't done it yet is just the paperwork. Oh god, the paperwork. But yeah, so I was sorry, I'm like blanking out. But yeah, I was just a little bit worried about pricing, but a little bit worried that it might be too expensive. But at the same time, like with how much like time I spend on my artwork, considering how much time I spend on my artwork, I feel like I have to like try and be a bit more fair, do something that's a little more fair to my time. You know, plus if I want to like quit my job eventually, you know, I gotta have to like make sure I'm actually earning enough to cover my needs. But yeah. Admittedly, one of the big reasons why I got into streaming was just so I can like hopefully get my art to spread out a bit more. Of course, it's nice being able to like show off the process to people and sometimes have chats and all that, but yeah, admittedly, that's kind of my original intention. That, and I just really wanted to be a VTuber, so. Yeah, I know that VTubers don't necessarily have to stream, but yeah, it was part of my, you know, part of my intentions. You know, get my art out and, VTubing. Have a cute character and all that. Yeah, I think I talked about, like, how in the past I wanted to do VTubing, but just didn't really know how to, you know, how to get here, or start streaming at least. So, you know, it takes a lot of work to make a VTuber model, so a lot of, you know, like, basically for a big portion of last year, I've slowly, like, worked on a live 2D model, and then I never really finished it because of how long it was just taking. And I kind of just found out, and I kind of just like went ahead and used a VOD. But yeah, beforehand I had like plans on making an avatar too, but honestly, one of the big issues, or like I had two big issues. I didn't know how to make a model, and because I just didn't want to touch VOD for whatever reason. That, and I just kind of, I didn't really connect with like my previous concepts. So I know I wanted a ghost for a long time, either a ghost or like a merman. And then, you know, I'd make like these mermen, and I'd make like these characters that I think would act as a good persona, or I say good persona, but like not really. You know, I was more focused on the OC aspect rather than the persona aspect, and then I couldn't really connect to any of my characters that way. So, actually, a fun fact: I have one of my OCs. People don't really see him much these days, but you know, I was kind of crazy about him like a couple of years ago. Like the green swamp merman, Scylla. He was actually originally meant to be a live 2D model, or not model, but like my persona character. I just couldn't really connect to him as in that way, so he just became its like own independent character rather than a, you know, a usable persona character. And I had another character named Valdris. He was a swamp ghost. You Yeah, I definitely could not connect to that character at all, so I eventually, honestly I never really was that big on him, but I did kind of like, kind of gave his backstory to another character of mine who I do think about a lot, but don't really produce much work of, and like that other character is Renee, so, who's basically an alligator guy. But yeah, I never really, quite connected to that other character, so it ended up not really working out. I mean, I sort of connect to him, but not as a potential, you know, not really a potential character to play. And then eventually I started just looking up actual, like, videos to help me with that kind of thing after a while. Like, I think I actually had a couple more ideas, but obviously those didn't work either, but I think after a while I started looking up videos about creating your VTuber persona rather than just making the model. And yeah, I did find some helpful tips for character design, so you know, I think I mentioned it before, but like there's a YouTuber called Squeegee, and it's like a mushroom character. But they had like a template that, yeah, they created a template that you can use to help think about your character's concepts, and yeah, I think that's what ultimately led me to creating Varia. So yeah, Varia is like specifically designed to kind of represent me, so you know, kind of a gloomy character, but also kind of like shy too. You know, some gothic elements. You don't see it in my current model that much. Like, you sort of can because of the dark colors, but you know, I have actual character design reference on the blue sky that some of you might have seen it, but yeah, it's sort of meant to be kind of a gothic ghost who lives underwater. Sorry, I'm like, the SpongeBob themes just started playing in my mind. And I was kind of trying to think of like a parody to fit my character, but no, I could not fit. I just couldn't really come up with anything in a I can't come up with things in a split second. I'm sorry. Like, who lives in a shipwreck under the sea? Dude. Viridian ghost. Yeah, it doesn't work. I'm sorry. Yeah, it doesn't work. My character's a ghost. He can't live, obviously. Okay. Okay, sorry. I was putting some blue down on the. Yeah, mixing some of this blue, random blue color, and with their arm to hopefully make it kind of match up. Honestly, it does kind of help a bit. Sorry, this is a very slow moving piece, isn't it? Sometimes though it's nice to get I think I mentioned it earlier, sometimes it's nice to just get lost in the process. I don't know, sometimes I wonder if I should like check out some abstract artist streams. Because last Tuesday before I started my stream that day, I found a fantasy artist who was doing like abstract art on stream. So I'm not like necessarily super into abstract personally, but I do think it's kind of interesting, especially some at like some level of abstract expressionism. But you know, actually, fun fact, I wanted to try and practice abstract art at the beginning of this year, but I never really got that far with it. So I wonder if I posted one of them though at the. I never really did any like properly intentional abstract pieces, but you know I did do some playing around with the acrylic inks because I know that playing around with the marks and stuff is supposed to help you like learn how to like help you learn on what you want to do, or like learn what you can do with some shapes and stuff, with markings and shapes and all that. Yeah, like again, I can't really explain what I mean, but like get a feel for the brush. So, you know, I try to start abstract art. The abstract arc, but I never really went through with it. So, thing is, like, the reason why I wanted to practice abstract art is so I can, like, incorporate more abstract elements into my artwork. I think I might have kind of did a little bit of that kind of thing at some point. At least I'm wondering. I'd probably have to, like, I can't remember actually, but yeah, basically the reason why I wanted to do that is just kind of so I can like draw more, or like make my art more kind of like Yoshitaka Amano's. So, you know, I mentioned his name a lot, so because I really liked his art. Kind of re-inspired my desire to get back into painting and drawing, because, you know, 2023 kind of ended up being a dead year for me in terms of drawing and stuff. Like, I barely created anything on 23, but sorry, I'm trying to see. I forgot I wanted to have these see how this looks, like white pupils, just to make him his eyes stand out a bit more. Maybe not quite this late, but it looks okay, I think. Yeah, I just wanted to do a little bit more with these pupils, but should probably darken the iris a bit too, so. From what I've seen, it seems like pigeons or doves, sorry, white doves specifically, are supposed to have like black eyes, so basically his eye color should be on the darker side. They're kind of just more brown at the moment, but I'm also going to add a bit of blue. Also, thank you for the lurk, Paulette. I appreciate it. Yeah, I managed to pop into Paulette's stream earlier today, so basically just said hi. I haven't been good about popping into people's streams, so you know, I'm trying to get a little bit better about that. For those who don't know, but yeah, just say hi to everyone, because. But yeah, Paulette actually hit 1K followers on Twitch, I think. So I wanted to congratulate them on that. I think Paulette's supposed to be SG, but yeah, I just want to play it safe. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to. I haven't really been focusing on this hand very much. I usually like avoid the hands, honestly, because I'm weak. Dang it, I'm weak. I will admit it. I don't want to draw the hands. Yeah, I think I talked about this earlier, but I don't know. I think about how like people tend to use crappily drawn hands as like evidence for AI, and it's like, that has me kind of sweating. Because honestly, I think because usually it's in comparison to like rendering levels. And I do think my rendering level is a lot higher than my hand drawing levels, so I think that's the big issue. Not sure if I should be patting myself on the back about rendering, but like I'm usually okay at rendering, but yeah, I definitely ignored one skill. Actually, at work on Wednesday, when I was doing returns, you know, I was trying to like come up with a little song in my head, like about how much easier rendering is. I guess I wouldn't necessarily label rendering as easier, but you know, I think at this point of considering how long I've actually been drawing, rendering does actually feel a lot easier. So yeah, essentially been avoiding hands or avoiding learning how to draw hands for like let's be real, like over a decade at this point. Yep. Okay. You know, I think my hands are okay-ish, but yeah, probably not very good. Probably not okay-ish, but you know, they're bearable to look at. Usually, maybe. Okay. But right now I'm just adding some more shading to the hands, so yeah, right here a little bit of a darker color. Yep, okay. Yeah, this hand right here is actually like, should not be this thick at the end right here, so I'll try to fix that. Take the color of the hair and just kind of blend it back in, so, you know, flip it. You know, I did, like, try at certain moments. It's just, like, so confusing when I, like, I'm not sure how to explain this to everyone, but, like, when you try to, like, sketch hands, it gets just blends into a big old mess, so. Hold on. Like, you're trying to work with a ton of details on a relatively small part of the piece. Okay, yeah. Trying to, like, think about my placement, sorry. Yeah, these other fingers are supposed to be kind of curled in, so. But yeah, it's like a very complicated part of the body. And technically, I guess it often doesn't feel like it's worth it. Technically it should be, because, you know, people use their hands a lot. You know, what if I want to draw a character with a sword? But, yeah, I kind of just draw my characters with their hands kind of like curled in, usually. Okay, sorry, I'm like trying to focus. Yeah, I'm just putting a general shading back down. Yeah, I'm not really thrilled with the current look. I do know that part of the reason is just that it's not enough, actually. Like, I only put it around this, or like between the characters. But yeah, I really just need to, like, apply more of it, don't I? Okay, but I'm gonna, like, darken this area. Like, I'm gonna do it manually. So I'm actually gonna make it really dark. Because it's proper ambient occlusion. Wonder if it's maybe a little bit too dark for a white shirt, or a light gray shirt, maybe. Yeah, I need to develop a certain... Yeah, I need to do a study for just, like, white. For the color white. Okay. Like a white object in the sunset. Wonder if I should do a flower study along with the bird studies. I feel like it might be a good idea, honestly. Okay. I'm gonna add a bit more ambient occlusion here too. I'm actually gonna have to be the same color as the sort of outline. Okay. I usually have outline on my artwork just because I think it looks better. Like my art, obviously my artwork is more stylized, so it kind of feels like some level of outline is kind of needed. I remember back when I was in community college, kind of studying art, we were like, it's very much like they very much like pushed against like having a line or like lining your objects. At least usually, I think in the later stages you can probably get away with that just because you have a lot more freedom at the later stages, but yeah, definitely they definitely pushed against it. And also, I guess like the fine art term for lining is contours. So, fun fact for those who don't know. Yeah, sometimes I call them. Yeah, I try to mostly call them line art because I think that's what most people use online. But yeah, this would actually be called contouring. But yeah, so. All right. So I'm just gonna lighten up the edge here. I probably shouldn't have this lighter edge technically because actually I might make the top section blue, but or a cooler color. Okay, it's not really looking blue, is it? I'll make it purpley. Yeah. Okay, now it's like matching the color, but just one of those situations where it's like I just think it looks better. Kind of stands out a bit more. Okay, right now I'm just adding more of these darker shades. So, yeah. I'm going to be honest, this like specific section of the hair is actually kind of underdeveloped. I haven't really been paying attention to it properly. So, I guess I can try to fix that. So, over here, there's going to be a coarse shadow. Also, technically, this edge is further away from the light, or it would be harder because it's upside down. And also going against the main light source rather than the skylight. So, and then the further back, it's a little more straight down, so it's going to look less intense. So that's why I'm going to blend it out. And I'm going to take some of the skylight color right here. And right here, the hair is kind of facing up again, so I'm going to lighten up with this grayish color. And yeah, that's supposed to be kind of the skylight color. So it looks a little bit bluer than the rest of the hair. Technically, I guess you could say it's a cooler color. When I pull it from when I use the color picker to kind of pull it up, it actually appears as like a grayish magenta, so it has a little bit of a color mixed into it. But yeah, this is technically gray. So I don't normally go out of my way to utilize grays in my art because there is a risk of having it turn muddy, but you know, with color theory and all that. Sorry, I'm taking a drink of my coffee. Actually, I should drink some water first. But yeah, with the nature of color theory, the gray is going to look bluish because it's surrounded by all these like yellow and I guess technically a blonde color for the sky, but yeah, blonde's already yellow/orange, so sometimes it's not really kind of depends on who you ask. Sorry, I kind of studied with the traditional color wheel rather than like the alternative ones like the Roy G. Biv or like not Roy G. Biv or cyan, magenta, the printer color ones. I haven't studied the printer color ones. I know a lot of people swear by that, but I think mostly because I was coming in with like at the time I was mostly doing traditional painting, like oil painting specifically, and most of your colors are going to be like some variation of a red, yellow, or most of your pigments at least, they're going to be some variation of a red, yellow, or blue. So it's usually, so I kind of consider it a good idea to kind of just use the traditional color wheel. But yeah, so usually I kind of consider orange to be more so the opposing color of blue, or the complementary color, I should say. But when you have like the digital color wheel, which is actually a combination between I think Roy G. Biv and the printer colors. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I read in a James Gurney book. So, sorry, going a little off topic, but James Gurney is like a guy who does he's the guy who painted Dinotopia, so he has a very in-depth knowledge about like drawing from the imagination. Drawing stuff that doesn't actually exist in real life, but at the same time making it really look realistic. But yeah, sorry, that's really off topic. So anyways, the color wheel that's used in digital painting, that's a combination between those two types of color wheels, and I guess looking at that, the difference between the complementary to yellow is actually dark blue. So I think yellow or like yellow and blue are technically complementary colors, whether it be kind of a yellow orange or yellow. So yellow is complemented by like royal blue, and then there's a more neutral blue is the yellow orange, I think. So yeah, I think putting this on blonde hair, like in short, putting this on blonde hair basically makes it look blue. Yeah, just kind of trying to think as I was talking, because as I said before, I studied with the traditional color wheel, but yeah, looking at the digital color wheel, it's kind of it's yellow and blue. Unless you're using cyan, then it's actually, I think, kind of falls into the orange. So, okay, I'm not really saying it very well. Yeah, I'm just trying to like observe it right now, but I guess orange kind of still complements blue too. So, blue is like a whole third of the color wheel for the digital color wheel. Yeah, kind of feels like like all the actual like warm colors, like red to yellow, those kind of only take up like 1/3, and then blue and cyan that takes up another third. Or fourth. Actually, I should probably say fourth. I'm sorry. I'm like getting distracted by color theory. You know, color theory was actually my favorite of the fundamentals to learn. So, fun fact. At least in the earlier stage of art, because I just thought it was a lot easier to understand than other fundamentals like you know, perspective. But yeah. So like many years ago, I kind of just took the time to study that rather than rather than other stuff. Sorry, when I try to speak, for those who don't know, a lot of air just kind of comes up my throat, so, and it makes it harder to makes it kind of hard to talk on stream, which is kind of frustrating. You know, it feels kind of gross because of the, you know, basically gas. Yeah, and sometimes I get lightheaded too. Of course, part of the reason for that is just like I had 4.5 hours of sleep. Yeah, I was like hardcore crashing out last night, so. And honestly this morning too, but yeah, I kind of had to I had to drink rum, so. You know, not trying to promote drug use or anything, but yeah. Yeah, I kind of had to get drunk, essentially, to go to sleep. So, sorry, I'm like getting kind of distracted by the hair. Going in with like a lot darker colors just because it's pretty dark right now. You know, this is actually supposed to be like pretty light colored because this guy's hair was meant to be kind of like kind of have like an ombre essentially. So, because I wanted to try giving ombres another chance. I have a hard time painting ombres. But yeah, sometimes dramatic lighting can definitely screw with that. Yep. Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe I should just lighten this up a bit. So, I'm gonna come in with a purpley color and just kind of actually make it more purple. Yeah, so it looks kind of bluish. So this is a purplish gray actually, but you know, as I was saying before, color relations. You know, just all of this is kind of a mix. Actually, all of this is probably more blue than actually yellow. Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to, you know, I feel like this tip right here could probably look a lot better. So I'm gonna try and blend this out with these areas out with the thigh. Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit hard to deal with these sections like this. Yeah, probably gonna use my second color and just kind of try to lighten the thigh behind it. You know, try to make it more of a mid-tone like the rest of the thigh in this area. Yeah, this is maybe a darker mid-tone actually. So it's like exactly in the middle but yeah, like exactly in the middle on the color, on my like color wheel. But I know when it comes to the color blue, blue actually has a really dark local value, so. Especially royal blue, so like royal blue is the darkest. Yeah, I talked a little bit about it like last stream, but royal blue will have the darkest local value, and yellow has the highest local value. Okay. Wonder if I should make a color theory video one day. I don't know. I don't really want to try to be an art instructor or anything. I know a lot of people will like try to do art tutorial stuff to try to get their videos seen, because that's usually what does well for art videos, but I don't know. I don't think I could really add that much to the discussion. You know, maybe talk about it on stream. Like if people ask or whatnot, but yeah, so. You know, sometimes I feel like I want to help like give out critiques on people's work, but when I try to do that, I never really I can't really ever think about like any good critiques, to be honest. Yeah, I'm just not the most competent at that kind of thing. I also I worry about like about my advice being more opinion than actual like hard advice. Especially since like I definitely like lean towards more. Especially since like, as you can see with my art style, I kind of lean towards more like semi-realistic rendering. So, and I know a lot of people, they kind of post very more like stylized artworks. So like my rendering advice probably just isn't very applicable. So applicable to what they would want with their art. Yeah, basically I'm scared to try to play like a mind reader or something. Okay. Yeah, like I'm just not the most competent one like with art advice. So sorry, I'm getting a little bit tired. I do kind of want to aim for like 3 hours though, maybe. Like it's just that I feel like I could go on for a bit longer, but I might need like a little bit of a break from the figures though, because at this point it's just a lot of like fiddling around for me. Really, I should be like working on the wings further, but yeah, maybe. Actually, it doesn't look too bad with the figures, I guess. I just don't know if I'm ready for the next step, or like, you know, future steps like general shading and whatnot. Because I probably would redo the general shading layer just because it's not really that thrilled about it. How about I like mess with the overlay layer actually? So basically trying to apply some subsurface scattering. So I'm gonna take this very bright yellow from around the sun, and then I'm just gonna. I wonder if I should have made the sun smaller in the piece, if that would have looked better. Okay, this is looking pretty. Sorry. Using a little baby brush. Shouldn't use it. Yeah, like part of me feels like the baby voice is a little bit funny, but you know, my model is not the. You know, it's that kind of thing only really work. I feel like that kind of thing only really works with my PNG model, which I do not have on right now. So yeah, I accidentally deleted my PNG from OBS. So, and I've just been too lazy to put it back on. Like VOTube mini, basically. You know, technically I can just like the model there is still there, of course. It's just I'm kind of lazy. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of liking the overlay, to be honest. Just gonna put the yellow filter on. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Sorry, I'm just trying to think. Not sure if it really should be this bright though, but or this intense, I should say. Kind of fits the vibe. Yeah, and I could probably like I'm just thinking, but wondering if I should make the sunflowers in the back actually darker. Kind of make it look like it's a little. Oh my god, sorry. Like it's kind of a little more like a silhouette, slightly. Not entirely a silhouette, but yeah, just darker. And so the wings in the back of the head could stick out a bit more. And honestly, some darker colors too. Hold on, I need to name this layer. So, general lighting. I just name it general lighting though. So, okay. Sorry, taking deep breaths. Water. I should probably pop in a cough drop too. I still have quite a few cough drops, but yeah. Sorry, I was... Okay. Hold on. No, sorry. Okay. So, BG Shadow. I'm naming that the layer. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't share a name with any other layers. Yeah, I need to clean up these back sunflowers a ton, by the way, but... Not right now, because it's not the focus. But... Okay. Yeah, so... What I'm trying to do is kind of just, like, darken the immediate area behind these two. Yeah, and this sunflower here could actually stay a bit later. Are these like 2 leaves a part of the background? Yeah, these 2 leaves are part of the background flowers. I'm gonna like erase some of it though, because it's a little too strong. Actually, probably erase a bit more behind them. And just kind of lower the opacity a bit so it's not too like obvious. But yeah. So I'm trying to hurry up a bit with the coffee. Because it's going to get cold pretty soon. Yeah, it's almost been an hour actually. Wow. I'm surprised there's still heat in here. Dang. Oh, by the way, a little bit off topic, but I remember like a while back I actually saw like a mug warmer that you can just like plug in. It's like, I might need that. I don't know. I don't really have the like. On one hand, I arguably do kind of need it, but not like desperately need it. And also, I don't think I have enough like plug space for a mug heater around here because all my plugs are kind of dedicated to the technology. Like, my god, there's so many tech things plugged in. I can probably unplug the second monitor, considering. Yeah, I probably should unplug the second or the third monitor. I have a third monitor, but it doesn't connect to my computer, which is like really aggravating. So, yeah, like my computer is supposed to be able to handle like 3 separate displays, but it can't, or it just won't take it. So, yeah. But yeah, originally I was planning on 3 displays for streaming. Some people say it's excessive, but basically what I would have on the third screen is probably like reference images and stuff. Yeah, also my screens aren't really that big either, so. I kind of have to have it like one app per screen. Sorry, my head is hurting right now. Yeah, I think it's probably the exhaustion, to be honest, so. Yeah. By the way, I feel like the ads should be coming in pretty soon, just a fair warning, so. Okay. Okay, so by the way, I guess to explain what I'm doing, like obviously I'm just blending out my shadows, but I'm trying to blend out the darker sections of the petals, and then keep the lighter areas like somewhat separate. I guess it wouldn't be a big deal if I blended it up a little bit, just because of it's a little bit further back. So it's kind of close. Actually, it's not that far back, is it? But yeah, so usually when things are further back, you want to have like less detail than the things that are closer to you, just because of the it kind of just reflects reality, essentially. You know, like how you kind of see things, or at least how eyes work, I should say. Because you're not going to make out the details you're usually not going to be able to make details out in the distance. You know, especially as someone with glasses, you know. Someone with not great vision. But yeah, so the sunflower is like still like close-ish. Sorry. So it would still have some detail. I might want to fix some of the lighting here at some later point, but yeah. Sorry, my head is hurting. Okay, and the ad alert is coming on, so I'm just gonna grab a cough drop real quick. But yeah, I'm gonna go on another restroom break or bathroom break when the actual ad break hits. I'm not gonna go early again, so. And then I'm probably gonna end at the 3-hour mark, just because not in the best shape today. But yeah, after stream, I might actually start working on the commission paper. You know, the technical stuff for commissions. So, you know, hopefully I remember. Okay, this flower is not the. Yeah, I tried to blend out some of the. Sorry, I tried to blend out this background flower, but I failed to do that because it is in fact on a separate layer. As I can only edit the front flower layer, which is this one. Oh man. Okay. So right now I want to add a little more shading to this to the heads of the sunflower. You know, whatever they're called. To make sure it looks 3D, so. Yeah, and it's like the center also tends to be a bit darker than the rest of the head, so I'll darken that a bit more too. I think it dips in a little bit, but also because the seed's kind of closer in, so I'm not sure how detailed I'll get with the sunflowers, but I'm probably going to have some like simple marks for the seeds, mostly around the closer sunflowers. And then kind of but yeah, of course not like too much. I won't be adding too much detail just because of you know, don't want to like be too distracting. You know, for a long time, I was like very jealous of artists that can do like very detailed art pieces, because I just didn't really understand how they did that. Like, I tried to do a detailed piece and it just looked really bad. I think part of the issue was just like my handling of composition and just forms as well. Like, knowing our forms helps a lot. Honestly, it takes like multiple fundamentals to kind of get a grasp on that kind of thing, but yeah, I think composition and form help was definitely the big help to that. You know, also I probably want to some like level of perspective too, of course. But yeah, it's usually for like environmental art. But a lot of what I wanted to do was actually like floral art. So, you know, basically have your character surrounded by pretty flowers. And honestly, I feel like I have a better grasp on that. So, at least with some of the decorative art. Yeah, I was talking about like trying to learn abstract earlier this year. And basically part of the reason was to help kind of figure out like how to handle like more complexity or like complex shapes. You know, like some abstracted sections of an art piece that can actually help add detail without necessarily dragging too much of the focus away from the focal point, or the main portion of the image. So basically having abstracted shapes could like represent some visual interest without and then the eye will go towards the representational areas, which are probably the areas that you want it to be the focal point. Of course, I still don't really have much of a grasp on like the very high density art pieces. Okay, I think the ad break is coming, so let me check the ad manager. Okay, yeah, should be starting soon. Sometime I'm a little bit worried because it hasn't been the best about telling me when the ads are going on. You know, it just straight up didn't tell me the ads were happening one time, like I think last week. But I also need the pee, so yeah, I'm just gonna check the browser real quick, and I might just go off and use the restroom, to be honest. No, take another drink of water. Yeah, I need more water too, so. Yeah, this delay kind of drives me insane, but yeah, I'm just gonna take a short break. Hopefully, the ads don't cause too much of an issue, but okay, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna use the restroom, so see you guys soon. And get more water, of course. Alright, perfect 3 minutes. I just got back, so welcome back everyone else. Alright, I'm waving to you. Pretend my model can do that. Okay. I'm starting to feel a little bit hungry too, so I don't know, part of me wants to keep going, because yeah, it's admittedly a small part of me wants to keep going, but at the same time, I know I need to, like, my body's kind of, like, dying a little bit. Not horrible, but not dying horribly. Yeah, like, your brain kind of wants to keep going, but your body does not want to keep going, so I don't know how many of you guys feel that way, but maybe I can go slightly over 3 hours. Like, obviously, I want to end before the next ad break, because I don't think you guys would really want to sit there for like 3 minutes of just nothing. But okay, sorry, I'm just trying to. I forgot to put the edge shot over here, so okay. Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm kind of like really into some of these flowers here. Like, specifically the petals on this one I really like, so like, I don't want to screw with it too much more, but yeah, gotta see about how I do the seeds later on. But yeah, so okay, I don't think I got this one actually. At least hopefully not. I'd feel a little bit silly if I did. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking about commission prices again. I'm still not 100% on it, but yeah. But yeah, I think the main worry, honestly, is just like trying to charge fairly for my time. I already talked about this, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just like trying to calculate for a piece like this, like if I charge like 15 hours for an art piece, because basically a livable wage, and this and we're assuming that a piece like this is like 4 working days, so like 4 8-hour days, so like 24 hours I should say. I'm not sure if this piece is actually, it might actually be that long, so then it would probably be like it would cost a pretty penny, so. But yeah, I'm just not sure if people would want to pay that kind of money for something like this, so. Oops. Okay. Admittedly, though, this kind of piece would be like a pretty high intensity, or I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll stop yapping about the prices, I'm sorry. You guys probably aren't really interested in that. Okay. Yeah, like, probably don't want to hear me just like attempt the math. The nasty, nasty math. You, arithmetic. Yuck. Yeah, who wants to do arithmetic? No. Nope, nope, nope. Not at all. Absolutely not. Okay. So. Okay. I'm just gonna. Yeah, this one definitely looks a little bit rounded. Kind of like a little pin cushion. I don't know. Not really. Maybe like the top of a pin cushion. Yeah, maybe. Or a pillow. Or one of those pillows. Yeah, I don't think it. Not really. I don't think I'm describing myself well again. Okay, and I gotta do the frontal one, of course, so. I do like the shading on... I do generally like the shading on the front on this one, but I feel like the actual petals are a little bit off, so maybe not like 100% on it. But yeah, you guys can kind of see that I blended together like the... I generally blended together like the shadow, that kind of, the ambient occlusion shadows. So the ones that come in, I sort of blended it together. I guess these front ones aren't entirely blended together, but... And I have the subsurface scattering at the very end of it, and then just kind of the blank yellow here, so... And that's kind of an example of basic rendering, so... Okay. And I don't think I ever rendered this one, whoops. Or not rendered, but... You know, did the blending, so... And with these sunflowers, you can kind of see that I started dark to light, so... Like, sort of, I put down, like, this darker mid-tone color as the base. Like, I did that last week, so... But yeah, so here, and then I added the lighter colors later on. Or first I added this light yellow. And then later on this, oh my god, this thing is so ugly. I'm sorry. You know, I'm gonna just leave that one. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. Not until the end of the artwork, of course, but, you know, just, I don't really want to do it on stream. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna... Okay, hold on a second. I'm just gonna... Okay, BG flowers. Sorry, there's like a ton of different layers for the BG or the background already. Like, I got this kind of shadow layer, and I got this the flowers. There's a Deco Glow, which is I tried to put a little bit of an abstract pattern in the back here. I don't know, I didn't do a very good job with that, the abstract stuff, but... And there's the sun. Sorry, this piece looks a lot darker without it, doesn't it? Okay. Oh well. Sorry. Like, I already forgot what I was doing, but I'm putting a multiply layer over some of the very... Ah, jeez. Sorry. Yeah, sometimes I drag out my, you guys can't see it, but I kind of dragged my toolbar out on accident. Hold on, this should be a purple. Actually make it really intense purple. And then just kind of lower the opacity a bit. And actually probably, oops, erase more of it for the flowers that are closer to the front, like these two. Mostly, these very far back ones. But yeah, making them kind of darker because the sun, or like the lightness of the sun, might actually be put kind of like, I can't explain. I'm sorry. Usually, the harsher the sunlight, the harsher the shadows. So I guess that's one way to put it. Okay, I'm going to do another general shading layer for the figures. We have like 15 minutes left of the intended time. I might go on slightly longer because I don't necessarily mind going on a bit longer, but yeah, we'll have to see. So, and I'll do it over the general lighting layer just because of how dominant the general lighting layer can actually be. So, okay. Right now, I'm just going to look at my Dove reference. So, okay. Now let me not follow that at all. But yeah, right now I kind of just want to going to actually like, mark out the areas. So usually I like to use the watery brush. Hold on. Sorry, I was using the empty paint. Or like the colorless option, so you know nothing was coming, or there's no color. Sit there looking goofy as heck. Okay. Actually, I don't really need it for this wing right here, but right now I am just kind of marking out some potential areas. So yeah, there technically should be a lot of a shadow. So I'm actually following the, you know, the established areas, or the established light and dark areas. So the reason why, usually the reason why I add a general shading layer like this, so you know, basically a multiply layer, is that it kind of unifies the shadow colors. So, and a lot of the time as well, I kind of, you know, I kind of like blend it out a bit, and that kind of helps soften the shape a bit. So usually some soft shadows, not soft shadows that can actually help you know, make the image look a little bit rounder, or yeah, make the figures look a little bit rounder or more 3D. Okay. At least I find that to be the case. Okay, right now I'm just kind of putting some of this I'm going over the hand right now, so yeah, you guys can see my stylus, where my stylus is hitting. But okay, just gonna follow the established colors. Then yeah, sorry. It takes a little bit of concentration, as you can see. Okay, let's slightly go over the face right now, so I guess this technically is a fair bit different than what I've done with the previous general shading layer. This is actual general shading, so you know, where I'm just kind of lightly going over the shadow. Yeah, lightly going over the shadowed areas. What I did before is just kind of like focus on the area between the two faces, because I thought if I did that, it would help bring more focus to the two faces, but yeah, it just kind of looked a little bit off. So. But of course, I probably could have just applied more of it, because yeah, I didn't really apply enough of it. I guess you can argue that the previous attempt was more like ambient occlusion. So I used to have like special layers just for ambient occlusion, but you know, nowadays I kind of just build that in with the rest of the, oops, sorry, tilted the canvas a bit on accident. Yeah, but nowadays I kind of just prefer to, oops, okay, too strong. Okay, the strong brush. Okay, this one, sorry. Now I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, I used to have a separate layer for the ambient occlusion, but then I started building it in, because sort of like as you see with the sketch, like my sketch lines, or like, yeah, the line art or the sketch lines that you kind of see here, that kind of like fulfills the purpose a little bit. And I think it looks a little bit better, because I don't really like adding like straight black to my art. And ambient occlusion is like at least like pretty close to straight black, because it's supposed to be like the areas where the light isn't hitting at all. That's what ambient occlusion is supposed to be. But yeah, I think I always felt like it kind of made my art a little bit more dull looking. Okay. Sorry, it took a little more time with the braid, just because I wanted to make the braid look a little more, or like each bump of the braid kind of look more round. So I'm just gonna try and erase the edges a bit. Yeah, I can't really see much effect of it, but okay. And of course I'm not done with the actual rendering. I could still use some work and all that, but yeah, I think it's a not terrible place to see. Okay. I'm gonna soften this a lot because I feel like I just made it purple again. Okay, and I'm gonna use the airbrush for this upper section of the wing. Actually, this like the start of the wing here, like where the bones are, that would actually be darker. So try darkening that a bit. Okay. And now I'm going to... Okay, I'm going to take an airbrush and I'm just going to maybe darken the very edges here. So I probably should have blended some of this out. So trying to find the right brush and just kind of blend it out a bit. But yeah, I'm trying to just darken the edges of our dove guy a bit more, just because of for like the coarse shadow and all that. Yeah, and a bit here on the human guy. Okay, and just lower the opacity a bit, so maybe heighten this one maybe. Yeah, I don't really want it to be 100% or anything, but I'll have it at 65 right now, and I think I should lower the general lighting again. Yeah, I think the general lighting is maybe just hiding or like drawing out a little bit too much detail on the hair right here. So, of course, I could probably add some actual highlights at the edges too, but okay. Sorry, I need to stretch a bit right now. Ugh. Okay. I'm gonna put noise over it just to fit the vibe. Okay, you know what? I think I know I was saying that I could like, go on longer, but I might actually just end it at 3. So it's still like 8 more minutes. But yeah, I'm gonna check the browser real quick. Uh-oh, saying I'm offline. Hold on, I'm just gonna... I'm probably not, it's just the... Yeah, it was just this, sorry. Stream Manager not updating the live stream window. Yeah, it was telling me my viewer count and everything. It just got kind of worried though. Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna plan out some highlights on the hair right now. But yeah, admittedly, I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself. But probably doing okay. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to like play around a bit. But yeah, so okay. Oh my god, sorry. Deep breath. Okay. But yeah, right now I'm just adding strong highlights to the back of the hair. Okay. Admittedly, these are pretty potent. I'll probably tone it down with a lower opacity. But hold on. It looks pretty though. Okay. Yeah, and I'm probably gonna have to reestablish some of the lining on the back of the hair too, so. But yeah, maybe off stream I'll probably be doing the ambient occlusion between the faces. As I was I was talking about the usually having a separate layer for that, but I think for this case it will have a separate layer, at least just for this general section. Just kind of work on the bringing out the faces more, because I feel like they're kind of losing the established place as the focal point. But yeah, I'm also gonna bring out the edges here, because there's bound to be a little bit of rim lighting, especially with how strong the sunlight is. I'm not sure if like a sunset or like the light of sun. Yeah, it kind of is. Sorry. I was wondering if like the actual like sunset lighting would be this strong, but yeah, it would be. I think it would be, to be honest. Yeah. Kind of shows how long it's been since they actually touched grass. Like, what does sunlight look like? I forgot. Okay. Now, part of me was kind of wondering if this dude could be like actually a crow harpy, but of course I didn't really paint out the wings. I didn't want to. One pair of wings is enough, but maybe like a harpy that lost his wings or something. Obviously, these are the more humanoid looking harpies, but at least maybe. I don't know. Have a tragic backstory or something. Like, have an actual story, that would help. Okay. Alright. Okay, I probably should have had this on as a clipping mask, because I did not have that as a clipping mask. Whoops. Okay. Then, yeah, I'll probably end the stream when I'm done with this stuff, so. Yeah, okay. Honestly, it looks kind of... The rim lighting looks really pretty, I'll be honest. Could add some more, though. So, I'll do that. Okay. Yeah, I might actually be further along on this piece than I thought I was. I don't know. I probably just have to work on the sunflowers a bit more, and then probably get a better idea of what I want to do here, but yeah, obviously I'm still not quite done, but yeah, it just actually does feel like I'm further along than I thought I was. Who knows? But yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier, but I was thinking like sometime next week I wanted to try and get back into Blender, so I was thinking either I could like continue this art piece right here, or I could maybe like working on the word studies, so, and maybe like trying to practice like sketching on stream, so not necessarily practicing sketching in general, but try to get more comfortable with people seeing my ugly sketches. So yeah, I have a lot of really ugly sketches, by the way. But if I'm doing like bird studies, then I can probably get away with just doing the sketches, because I tended to move pretty or relatively quickly with those. Yeah, usually when I do sketching, I actually prefer to like have it sit around for a day or two, like the sketch, so I can like come back with a fresher mind and try to fix any like anatomy errors. Oh my god, sorry. Okay. Man, I really think the rim lighting is like helping a ton here, actually. Like, my god. Like, my crops are healed, my back doesn't hurt anymore. That part's a lie, but like, damn, looks nice. Okay. Okay, everyone. It also looks like we hit the 3-hour mark, so but I still haven't finished the basic highlighting or rim lighting. So I'll just keep going. But I will definitely be ending before the next ad break, so. Because I don't really want. I'm not gonna put you guys through that. Okay. Okay, so make it nice and shiny. All pretty. Okay, erase some of this actually. It's it doesn't quite look rim lighting. Sorry, went a little too far from the rim lighting, but okay. Yeah, definitely one of the slower parts. Alright. Sorry, I'm just trying to adding a little bit more to this. Okay, I'm just gonna blend this back part out. Yeah, it's probably not the best, just being careful. Okay. And just try to grab the right brush. Okay. Yeah, and this, you should be hitting a little bit of the light with the ends of this hair, so I'm just gonna do that. Okay. Yeah, for some reason right now, I kind of felt like I was, or I suddenly got worried about that my tab, or like my image was, had been flipped for ages, but it wasn't. Sometimes that happens. Like I spend hours on a piece and realize that the image was flipped. Actually, sometimes I will flip a sketch to be more like the orientation that I've been working on before, just because I ended up preferring the other orientation. Of course, that doesn't always happen, but it's happened before. I don't think I've ever done it like at the end of an art piece, though. Just like that's something I usually figure out earlier. Okay. Okay. So, getting this area. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember how to do this. So, kind of go down the rump a little bit. Of course, we gotta get the hands right here. So, yeah, I keep forgetting this arm is down here. Oops. Oh well. Get the edge. Okay. You know, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to actually like stream this art piece, just because of how far I got off stream, but I ended up working on it like after my D2YS piece, so I kind of figured that I just go ahead and do it today. Also, you know, the really bad mood, and also, you know, because I obviously wasn't feeling it yesterday. I worked on it a little bit yesterday, but I mostly just did the sunflowers, so yeah. Okay. So, anyways. And I'm just kind of going a lot crazier on this back wing. Get the edge as well. Very brightly lit wing, a very brightly lit wing. So, and actually, I'm gonna hold off on this section. It kind of just dawned on me that I need to like actually develop this a lot more. But I'm definitely a lot more comfortable going on or doing more of the hair, so. Okay. So anyways, we're almost done with it. At least this section. And then I will okay. Oh yes, and I wanna sorry, I almost forgot about the side hair here. And just a wee bit on this end. And a wee bit on this bang here. Yeah, this section should technically be a bit better lit. Yeah, I really like the golden highlights here. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Of course, it's not like my first time doing golden highlights, but as I said, like pretty early in the stream, I just really want to do more. I like to play with yellow, so honestly, I need to like play with more warm colors. It's just that my brain is kind of hardwired towards cool colors, so especially like purple. Because, you know, my actual favorite colors, they are like cool colors, but yeah, I just think that like shading and coloring the warm colored stuff is just really pretty. It's just more fun in general, so. Okay, I think I'm gonna call this as my stopping area, or stopping point, so. Honestly, the piece here is not quite done yet, but it definitely does feel more developed with the rim lighting and the highlights, so. Actually, no, I'm not done, sorry. I forgot the shoulder, and the collarbone. I just kind of jumped to the hair, didn't I? Actually, I think I jumped to the wings, that's why. Yeah, I kind of just went around the shoulder. Okay. I'm just gonna... I'm actually kind of wondering if I should add a subsurface layer. Maybe not necessarily subsurface scattering, but maybe to accentuate the glow a little bit. So I'll show you what I mean. I'll have it as a overlay. And I'll take a color that's a little bit more orangey than the original one. I'm just gonna, yeah, brush it against here, so. No, just kind of, yeah, and I already mentioned that's like overlay, so just kind of brushing the back, and I forgot to have that as clipping. Alright. Hold on. Not alright, not alright. Okay, there. It's maybe a little bit stronger than yeah, I'll just like lower it a bit. If I want to like bring it back up, you know, I can just raise the opacity, but you know, there's still other things to consider, like the blues and whatnot. But yeah, I think this is a okay place to stop. You know, I kind of struggled with the colors in the previously, but you know, I think I'm starting to get the, you know, the intended vibe is starting to really show up, so. Yeah, hopefully we'll get to yeah, hopefully the final piece will look like how we want it to look like, so. Yeah, anyways, thank you everyone who came to today's stream. I'll just like look up who to raid real quick. Okay. I wonder if Dami's still going. Oh yeah, Dami's still going, so. Kind of surprised that they were going this early in the morning, but yep. Anyway, so let's open the link. Sorry. Okay, so let's raid, folks. I'll just set it up so I can... Dami draws. Yeah, okay, spelled their name. But yeah, so thank you everyone for coming, and I hope the rest of your days goes well. I know it was pretty quiet, the stream, but, you know, hopefully later today's a little more exciting. But yeah, so see you all later, and let's raid.
I just want to share in the monster fucker streamers adoration of video game creatures. I love that. I love that for you. Oh, hey, Varia. What's up, friend? Yes, hello. I hope you had an amazing stream. I can't wait to see what you worked on. But yeah, Dan, I could be high energy, but I've been so tired. I don't know if I'm high energy, actually. I think I just say wild shit. Then I don't give a fuck. You know? But, yes, welcome, Varia. Love you. Varia, Viridian Ghost, also known as Varia, is a artist who does wonderful painterly-like art.
Okay.
Kind of like